Hello, one and all, and welcome back to the Great Unknown Audio Show with me, Maxim Jennings, your illustrious host and the most handsome face for radio in the whole of the audio world. Alongside me is my long-term friend and traveller companion, Mr. Nikolai Brown. Nick, how are we doing?
Namaste.
Namaste, indeed. And today we are also joined by a special guest who we managed to pick up in the hostel in Pokhara, Mr. Ollie Bueller. Ollie, how are we?
Namaste, very well, thank you.
And it's always good to have another travel companion to share these memorable experiences with. And today has definitely been a very memorable experience. After arriving in Lumbini last night from a pretty chaotic 8-hour or so bus ride, and on that journey, Ollie was gratefully sat next to a local who had quite the journey, didn't she, Ollie?
Upchucking, out the bus. Luckily it wasn't on me. Close escape.
Yeah, I mean, we could hear the noises from in front, and we were definitely glad we weren't in Ollie's shoes. Is that right, Nick?
Yeah, but if one goes to the home place of Buddha, you must be cleansed of all your filth and disease that may be residing within you.
And that leads us nicely into what we've been doing today. Thank you very much, Nick, who has become incredibly more holy in the last 3 hours or so since we've been taking our tour around the birthplace of Buddha. And what have your thoughts been so far, Nick?
Well, the location is very nice. People have been friendly. A lot of Buddha, a lot of statues of Buddha, a lot of temples of Buddha. So if you like Buddha, I would highly suggest you come to Lumbini because Buddha is everywhere. You can feel his presence everywhere. Within you, without you, upon you, beside you. Buddha is there.
And Ollie, really the star of the show that we had to pay an almighty 700 Nepalese rupees to get in to see. What did you make of it?
It was completely overwhelming, really. Just the stone was just incredible. I mean, the actual birthplace of Buddha, it's really struck me hard.
Yeah, Buddha's mum herself bled on that stone and disposed of Buddha upon that slab 2,500 years ago,
wow.
Something like that.
It's really quite impressive how they've managed to keep the story of Buddha alive after all these years and across a number of different nations. And in true Western fashion, being tourists ourselves but trying to keep a more humble and silent approach, we saw a number of white, I don't know if they were Buddhists, meditators right outside the birthplace of Buddha, which is a giant rock covered by a perimeter of brick, and then just outside that were a group of maybe a dozen or so Western meditators who had paid good money to be on the grass and start our ambient experience with some homs and some homs.
Ice cream for you. Chocolate ice cream.
And it is really in true religious fashion that when we made our way into, I want to call it a park, not a theme park, of course, not a Buddhist theme park, but
that I believe is the holy plant of marijuana, which Buddha himself toked upon many years ago.
Or that could just be a regular cigarette. But like I was saying, as I've mentioned on a number of times when we were in India, these traditions of capitalism have fed into their close geographical neighbour Nepal, and almost as soon as we left the first temple upon viewing, we were joined by two young boys who had guided us very kindly to the first viewing spot, and then after, Ollie and I had an interesting business transaction. Ollie, how did you find that?
Very blessed. Got blessed with a bracelet and then proceeded to be chased for money, which was an experience.
Was that your first experience of something like that happening?
First experience of forced blessing.
And we, on this show, we all know that Nick is not a fan of giving money towards some causes in the world.
Well, yeah, certainly not a big fan club.
You think Buddhism is a big fan club?
Absolutely.
And we have to update also the selfie count as we did receive our 30-second request for a photo. We received a few more, but Nick kindly ignored those gestures, almost embarrassing the people who ask us for photos.
What are you on about? You're talking waffle.
There was a guy right behind us who was asking you for a photo.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah, there was.
What? No, I accepted the photo in the park.
No, there was another one as we were going past.
Oh, I didn't hear him then.
I just ignored him.
Yeah, you're getting deaf with age as well. So yeah, anyway, we're up to 32 photos with two young gentlemen this time, and their female counterparts took the photo of us amongst a number of. It was like a string of ribbons, really, of different texts.
Prayer flags.
Prayer flags, yeah, that all had different stories of Buddhism on them. That was quite a nice touch to have in the middle of the birth of Buddha, where we also saw a group of Buddhists with their monk leader at the front, leading them in a moment of prayer, which they all thoroughly enjoyed, it looked like. And then when they took a team photo after, a number of the locals were taking photos of the group taking a photo. So it must have been such a memorable occasion for those people.
Buddha does not hold back such memories, for memories should be shared. He glued his hands together.
So some young Buddhists coming past us who with
He was white, he's
yeah,
Western.
He's a Westerner,
Western monk.
transferred religions, some may say, who had his hands in prayer as we were walking down not the most sacred of avenues. So he must be making a pilgrimage from one temple to the other. That would be the only thing that would make sense. And so, Ollie, this is your first experience so far on your journey. Well, just enlighten the viewers on what you think your journey will be over the course of your travels.
Yeah, so next I'm heading to Thailand and Laos, which will be a right experience. I think hopefully a few more Buddhist temples if I'm lucky. And then I'm off to Indonesia, Australia and South America, which I'm looking forward to. So, yeah.
Lots to be doing.
Lots to be done.
And Ollie, unlike us, did not do Annapurna. He took it a step further, doing probably the most famous mountain of all time and making his way to Everest Base Camp. What was that like, Ollie?
It was incredible. 2 weeks of trekking and eating a lot of dal bhat, which I'm sure your viewers have heard a lot about already.
Yeah, we know they absolutely love the sounds of dal bhat. And any experience along those 2 weeks that really stands out for you as we come across some gentlemen with some more native uniforms?
I thought Buddhism was all about peace, not carrying spears.
It seems like it could be.
Yeah.
There's a big camera there. Seems like some sort of production might be going on. Very interesting. So any memorable experiences from Everest Base Camp for you, Ollie?
The toilets were fantastic. Highest luxury toilets you can find, actually, I think. Otherwise, the monastery, again, another Buddhist monastery, which I missed being blessed, so I'm glad I got blessed here instead. But no, we didn't actually see Everest, so it's a bit disappointing. So I guess you can call that a highlight, or maybe not a highlight. But no, just the challenge itself was incredible. Best thing we've ever done. Yeah.
And I think what really struck out for me when I was listening to your story is the fact that you managed to have a pint at 2,700 metres, is that correct?
No, so it's the highest pint or highest can of Everest beer at 5,364 metres.
And did that taste all the better?
It didn't taste good because I was a bit headachy and a bit altitude sick, but actually, in hindsight, it tasted very good.
Oh, God, that sounds amazing. Just after you finished one of the hardest adventures of your life, to have a nice ice cold beer would have been absolutely amazing. And so as we begin to depart this historic, illustrious sector of buildings that have so much cultural value to them, Nick, how does this compare to the forts and Hindu temples that we saw across the whole of India?
I mean, they're two completely different things. So this was much more religious, whereas the forts felt much more perhaps secular, state orientated, a bit more nationalistic, perhaps more interesting for me from my perspective, since I'm an atheist, a devout devout secular, should I say. So I think more of the country's history, or of India in this case, was more intertwined with those forts, whereas as this is a much more global place. It's a World Heritage Site, so perhaps I feel less attached to it because I don't know enough about religion, whereas being in India you learn much more about the country and its history, whereas this feels kind of detached, since a lot of the temples that we visited were actually temples representing other countries. So you had the Chinese Buddhist temple, the Japanese Buddhist temple, the Austrian European temple. But you know, I respect this place and people who come here. And it's there to be showcased. It's there to be enjoyed by travellers from all across the world. So yeah.
And so we only have this night in Lumbini, and next, where are all three of us heading next, Nick?
Chitwan. Big up Chitwan. It's where there's the rhinos, elephants. Sorry, I'm chafing so much.
Tigers.
We must say it's 31 degrees, and Ollie and I have taken the brave and appropriate step of wearing trousers to cover our shoulders and knees, and that does have its repercussions because I bloody hate the heat. So there's a lot of inner thigh sweat going on. My pants are way too tight to my crotch at the moment, which means wedgie season is upon us. But Nick has decided to take some baggy shorts out, just about get away with the respectful nature of this place. But yes, like Nick was saying, we're going to Chitwan for how many days are we thinking?
2 or 3.
2 or 3, yeah. Hopefully go on a nature safari. We are also hoping to stay at a hostel which, in every photo that is on Hostel World, has rhinos on it. So maybe we see some rhinos, not necessarily out in the wild, but out for observation.
Charging out our dorms.
Yeah. And so, Ollie, how many days in Nepal do you have left?
I've got about a week left.
And then off to Thailand.
After, well, I head to North Thailand and get a boat along the Mekong into Laos, Luang Prabang.
Oh, Ollie's done his research, unlike me, who follows very willingly my tour guide. So that's all from us today, folks. We hope you've enjoyed listening to this very religious, sacred episode of the Great Unknown Audio Show. Hopefully we can get another episode out in Chitwan, maybe on the safari. If you remember, we did the tiger safari in Ranthambore, where we did see a tiger. It's probably very unlikely that we will see a tiger this time.
What kind of tiger was that again?
It was a Bengali tiger by the name of...
Noor.
Noor, not a Noor tiger. So like I was saying, thank you very much for listening. And by this time in the episode, you should have heard the outro last time round, which was an illustrious horn, bus horn used from our journey from Jinnu to Pokhara. I hope you enjoyed that. It's got a little bit of Nepalese spice to it. So that will be playing out at the end of this episode. And once again, thank you very much for listening to the...
Buddha does not impose speed limits, for that restricts one's ability to surpass their barriers.
Wisdom.
Words of wisdom. Yeah. See you again in Chitwan.